And there we are.
Hello, folks. Hi, we made it finally.
So we made it through the rain.
Rain, I know. We've had fingers crossed that the power will stay today. We've had so many ups and downs lately. Can't be sure, but here's hoping. But I won't waste a lot of time waffling because we'll get right to the point about telling you about our guest today. He's a wonderful chef from not too far away, from us at least. It's Oceanside.
Absolutely. Right? Just a hop, skip, and a jump south of LA. And Martin and I had the privilege to go and have the omakase chef's menu there recently, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. It's I don't know which is better, the food or the experience. It's just an amazing thing. And it's modern Japanese food that we will be talking about today. So I see people are joining, which is great. And we'll have our usual suspects from all over the world. Hi, Rick. Hi, Marty. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So Chef William Eick is a young man from California, from San Jose, actually, but now he's taking over and representing Japan in the beachside city of Oceanside in California. And the scene of the crime today is going to be one of his several ventures, Matsu restaurant. So I will see if technology will allow us. And there he is.
There he is.
Welcome, Chef.
Good morning, Chef. How are you?
Doing well.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. So obviously we met through David Duarte, through David Skinner, through the whole 10,000 Bites thing, because Chef World is really a kind of a tight-knit sort of a thing.
It's a community, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David and I have been longtime friends. We did a collaboration dinner years ago. That's kind of how we met, and then we just stayed in touch from there. And he was selling me Wagyu, and then he started working for me, and now we're all
good. Yeah,
absolutely. So, how old were you when you first became interested in food? Were you a picky eater as a child, or?
Oh, if you ask my mother, I'm sure I was a picky child. And even if you ask me, I was a picky child. But I first kind of started dabbling in the kitchen here and there. Even at the age of 5 or 6, I was making day brunch for my mom. Scrambled eggs, toast, normal stuff. And then just kind of stayed with it and really started cooking about 11 or 12. And then got interested more in the middle of high school, maybe 16, 17.
Okay.
Ooh, that's young.
And did you turn it into a job at that point, or you were still thinking about another career?
It was my first choice as a career coming out of high school, and I was already in kitchens at 17. And then early on out of high school, I decided I wanted to try to be a mechanic, which ended up not happening. My side hobby, a lot of my friends were kind of going into that field. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. Went to school for automotive technology and never did it. So I just stayed in the kitchen.
We are glad.
Yes,
you didn't.
And my palate is thankful. So what was your first job? Was it washing dishes or peeling potatoes, or?
I got lucky enough to go into a Japanese restaurant and actually be a cook. One of my friends at the time was a server out front and kind of just said, hey, we need a cook. The owner's willing to train you. She's this older Japanese lady, and I got lucky. I got really lucky. Didn't shy away from the dish pit. I definitely helped the guy at the end of the night and, paid my dues, but I got lucky enough to start on that.
Did you go to culinary school?
I always say no. I went for a semester and dropped out because it was a little too expensive for me, realistically. But at the end of the day, no. I learned some basics while I was there, but never finished.
And what was it just happenstance because this elder Japanese lady gave you your first job, or was that your goal, Japanese food in the first place?
It was a little happenstance. I've always been kind of into the culture and everything else, but once I was kind of in that kitchen, I was like, okay, this is kind of where I'm going to learn the flavor profiles of this culture instead of just eating the food, now I know how to cook it, and kind of fell in love with it from there.
And had you been to Japan when you started that first job, or was that just now on a bucket list?
That was on a bucket list. And even before, and being from the obvious automotive side, there's all of us are into kind of Japanese cars and drifting and all the other fun stuff. Always wanted to go and see that side, but once I started cooking, it was a done deal, and had to go at that point.
And so what was, tell us all about your first trip.
Oh, the first trip was incredible. I didn't end up getting to go several years later. My wife and I think first went in 2017, I believe.
Oh.
And literally as the plane landed, it was like the weirdest feeling for me, because it finally felt like I had come home, which was really interesting. And we didn't even make it off the plane, and I already felt like I belonged there. So it was a really interesting experience, and just kind of eye-opening, and really kind of just sat there. And even at one point, she's like, "You're being very quiet this trip. It's very weird." And I was like, "Well, I'm just studying and learning and trying to really immerse myself into the culture and see how they act and do things, and especially from a hospitality side, because I knew I was going to open a Japanese restaurant at that point."
Yeah.
So I wanted to see how they waited on their tables, and try to make as many notes as possible, so when I try to do something like that, we can be really respectful to the culture and do it right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, how prevalent is, because, I know one of the questions you get all the time, having just had the honor to work on your new website with you, one of the questions you get online is, well, what kind of sushi do you serve? And you don't have any sushi. It's Japanese food, right? So how prevalent is sushi on a percentage basis in Japan, as opposed to the techniques that you use and the dishes that you use?
Well, it's huge. I mean, sushi's everywhere, realistically. It is a big part of the culture and cuisine. And like ramen, that's the other one that we get. Oh, what kind of sushi or ramen do you serve? And we don't serve either. Matsu is more about taking the traditional techniques of Japanese cuisine and culture, even dating back to the 1600s, 1700s. I mean, dairy really isn't, or hasn't been, very big in the culture for hundreds of years. Right. So we don't really use dairy in our kitchen other than dessert. And even only the last course has the majority of the dairy. So we can look at it from that aspect. At one point, Japan as a country was largely vegetarian. So we think about, the respect for vegetables that they have, the respect for the fish, seaweed, all these other things. We're diving more into that side, and kind of how they would cook at home, a lot more simmering, steaming, do a lot of grilling over charcoal.
Yep.
So we're more playing with that side of the Japanese culture as far as food. And then we tie it into the terroir of Southern California. So you see rose show up on our menu in one of the dishes. Obviously, you're not going to see a lot of rose in Japanese food, but because that's what grows indigenously in Southern California, that's what we cook.
Right. And tell the folks watching what Matsu actually means, and what an inspiration that is also from your ancestors and your side of the family.
So Matsu means pine or pine tree. And it's been very prevalent even through a religious history in Japanese culture. And you even have, sometimes they name their children Matsuo, which means child of the pine. So it's about taking that, and I'm in San Diego County, where the Torrey pines are a very well-known tree. They're protected even. So it's about taking that tradition from the cultural side of Japan and marrying it with the terroir of Southern California, San Diego County specifically. And we can even tie that into, like, my last name, Eick, in German, derives from Eichmann, which is people of the trees.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of tie in there. And my wife, originally her family immigrated from China and came down, which we found this out after we opened the restaurant, which was funny. They came down through the Philippines, ended up going into Hawaii where they mostly stayed. But on their journey, they stopped at an island called Matsu, which was really we were like, really, that's actually an island? And it was really kind of, it just kind of all became symbiotic.
Does your wife work with you?
No, she's a nurse. She used to, that's how we met, but not anymore. She's left the industry.
Well,
She said, enough of this. I'll go change people's business. God love her.
You deal with one end and she deals with the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you got any children?
Yeah, we have 2 kids. We have an 8-year-old and soon to be 5-year-old.
Wow.
Both
Girls. Both girls.
Both
Oh
girls.
boy. You're going to need a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher in about 8 or 10 years here.
Yeah, even the dogs are girls. It's a house full of women. I'm a lucky man.
Do you think they'll follow in your footsteps? Are they interested?
Uh,
Was it too early?
the almost 5-year-old wants to be a pizza chef. She doesn't want to touch anything else but pizza, which I find interesting. I mean, I love it. Pizza's fun for me too. 8-year-old's hit or miss. She likes cooking. She definitely enjoys it. But I don't think it's what she wants to do.
Oh, okay. Now, here's a silly question. Is there pizza in Japan?
Oh, everywhere. Oh my gosh.
Oh, really?
I think, if I remember correctly, there's actually more Italian restaurants in Tokyo than there are Japanese collectively. And honestly, it has better Italian food. Sorry, guys. Italy. And mostly because a lot of them go to Italy to study Italian food, and then they come back and they do it in Japan. They're really paying attention to how Italian food should be, and there's phenomenal Italian food and pizza in Japan.
Really?
Interesting.
How interesting.
Because one of my old friends from years ago, Wolfgang Puck, he's Austrian, and Austria isn't really known for its pizza. But when he came to California, he kind of took this popular thing called pizza and then Californiized it. Have you ever thought about doing a Japanese? Is there such a thing as a Japanese pizza? Do they put ingredients on that we wouldn't typically see?
There's someone that I forget his name, but there's a chef. I want to say it's Kyoto, but there's a chef. I mean, Chef's Table on Netflix. They just came out with a pizza one, and one of the guys is Japanese, and he does exactly what you're saying. It's really interesting to see how he dives into it. He's got a tasting menu restaurant, but the last course is pizza, and he focuses on that. And there's like eel pizza. It's just some really interesting, cool, obviously delicious stuff.
So how do you decide when you're going to change a menu, which is how often? Quarterly? You do it 3-4 times a year?
I never do whole menu changes. I typically try to do a dish or two. I've been stagnant a little lately just with the winter and everything, trying to keep it consistent. But typically I try to change a dish either every 3 weeks or at least once a month, once every month and a half.
Wow. Really?
Wow. And that has to sort of be based on what you think you can get for 6 weeks, right?
That's right. And
What
supplies,
seasonal.
Yeah, we're very lucky. We live in Southern California, and there's farms everywhere, and they grow some of the best produce in the world. So we constantly have access to all this just absolutely stunning vegetables, and fish even at that point.
Yeah.
So
in general, how do you source your supplies?
I have suppliers. And one of our top suppliers actually goes to the Santa Monica Farmer Market, which is one of the biggest on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we kind of have access to all that. We can say, okay, I'm looking at this farm with this tangerine, and that's what I want. I need 5 pounds, and they'll send me 5 pounds.
I see.
Interesting. See, one of the dishes that I was amazed. Well, I was amazed by everything that you did, and the presentation, and the the sustainability of it all, because that's top of mind for you guys, I know. But I don't think Martin had ever had persimmons before.
Really?
What is that dish for the folks watching, and where did that combination idea come from? Was there any inspiration, or did it just come out the sky at you?
If I remember correctly, you guys probably had persimmon on the duck.
Yes.
Would be my guess.
Yes.
Persimmons have since gone out of season, but persimmon's kind of one of my favorite things because it really ties into Japanese food. And there's even something where they take a haichia persimmon, which is more the teardrop shape rather than the flat pumpkin looking ones. You peel it, you dry it out for a day or two to let it just kind of reform its skin almost, and then you hang them up and massage them every day for a month and let them cure and pull the sugars out. It's a process called hoshigaki. We were doing that at one point, which I still have my hoshigaki because they're now preserved.
Wow. And you massage them every day, almost like they're Kobe beef, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were hanging up right above the bar, and I'd jump on the bar top and sit there and give them a little massage and help them pull their sugars out and keep them there.
Good name for a band, the Massaged Persimmons.
Yeah, right. It's my next metal band.
Yeah, your next metal band. And so, yeah, we did have that on the duck. And then, of course, talk a little bit about the guanciale or the pork jowl.
Oh, the pork jowl. We take pork jowl, we roast them off with a little bit of coating of Okinawan brown sugar, salt, chilies, and Szechuan peppercorns. And we use Szechuan peppercorns in a dried form because there's a cousin of the Szechuan peppercorn called sansho in Japanese cuisine. And when we're doing something like roasting or something, we like to use the dried form. And getting dried sansho would be, one, insanely expensive, and two, very, very hard, if not near impossible to get, at least stateside. So we kind of mitigate some of that with using the Chinese version. We take all the rendered fat after it roasts and we turn it into a caramel sauce, and then glaze the pork jowl with the caramel sauce, and then use, like I was talking about earlier, roses. We make a rose hip jam out of dried rose hips, and then we actually put fresh rose petals on top and spray with a little bit of sudachi juice. And sudachi's a Japanese citrus, kind of like a yuzu. So it's something very simple. It's only technically 2 ingredients, really. It's a pork and a rose. But we just layer it, do different techniques and flavor profiles to it. There's a little bit of rose water hiding in the jam. And it's just this beautiful marriage, very, very savory, very rich. But the rose pepper actually come out.
My taste buds are going.
She's getting a bike out. She'll be on the 405 in about 15 minutes. But it's very delicate almost. It's the texture of the rose petals are almost like silk or velvet or something. You've got this heavy, pork jowl with all this wonderful gelatinous, gloopy rendered fat.
Yeah.
And yet the rose just sits on top like, well, it
like
does
a
belong
rose.
there. Yeah. It's just really amazing.
Yeah, and the bitterness of the rose petals and the little acidic from the sudachi juice that gets sprayed on them, it really balances out because bitter balances fat. And that's why caramel is so good, because you're burning sugar, you're getting some bitter, and then you're introducing all the fat, and it balances out. So the rose petals actually are purposely there to be the bitterness, to balance the sweet, to balance the fat and the richness. So it lightens the entire experience of the dish.
My favorite thing, I have to say, which I'm surprised by, because I didn't, we did it at such last minute that I didn't give you guys a heads up that I'm not a big shellfish eater because I have an iodine thing. But these guys were so accommodating. They also have a vegan tasting menu for anybody who's headed down to Oceanside, which is outstanding. And so mine was kind of a mixture of some of the vegan dishes were substituting the shellfish, and then I'm a big meat eater, so of course we had the Wagyu, and we had the duck and the pork jowl and all those things. But as much of a meat eater as I am still going to tell you that the sunflower, I think was course number 3, is absolutely one of the most outstanding things I've ever eaten in my whole life. Unbelievable.
It's my favorite dish on the menu, hands down. And it's just so surprising. It's got so much depth. It's got so much going on. And again, it's only like technically 2 things on a plate. It's a sunflower and it's some cuttlefish, really, at the end of the day.
But my vegan version didn't even have the cuttlefish, and it to me, again, it would just, I didn't miss anything. Yeah, it's just all of the different textures that you get out of the sunflower, the petals, the seeds, what's the powder? It's
the powder. We we kind of comfy the seeds just to give them some toastiness, and then we take that oil that they're cooked in, and we dehydrate it with something called tapioca maltodextrin, which just kind of eliminates the water content per se in the fat, and it just turns it into a powder. So you have this flavored sunflower seed powder on top of sunflower seeds, sunflower petals. We even braise the choke like an artichoke itself.
Right.
So you have different components of an actual flower, and it's just delicious.
I was
stunning.
interested to hear you say tapioca, because to me, having grown up in England, tapioca was a gooey pudding.
Punishment.
Punishment, sort of. Yeah, if you don't behave, you can have tapioca for your dinner tonight.
Yeah, Santa won't come unless you finish your tapioca.
Tapioca, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, there's a lot of like, there in the molecular world, they do a lot of modified tapioca starches, so you can do things like that. I mean, there's some that work as hydrocolloids to make gels. Tapioca became this really versatile element in that world.
It was the poor relation when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was belly stretcher. It was
That's right,
to
yeah.
fill you up because it was cheap and
Yeah.
like porridge, in the old days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think now that we've got, thanks to the Adria brothers and the El Bulli, now we've gone into molecular. Even you, who is not specifically a molecular restaurant, you can tap into some of that knowledge, like the David Skinners of Eculent, right?
Yeah.
And you can see what those guys are doing and bring it to bear on a plate, which is, it should just be a simple sunflower, but it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did you come up with? I mean, obviously sunflower seeds we all know are edible. I mean, did you just go out one day and pick a sunflower leaf and eat it and go, ooh, that's good?
Kind of. I did a few restaurants ago. I got really into indigenous edible foods. Foraging in Noma, is a really hot topic right now, even. But got really into the foraging thing 8-10 years ago, and then started studying what indigenously grows in Southern California and San Diego, and what was accessible and how far could we take it. And I stumbled upon sunflower, and was reading more about it and found out that literally the entire plant is edible. Not all of it is delicious, but all of it's edible. I mean, the stalks are kind of like celery. The roots are edible. The leaves are edible. Every part of it is edible.
Wow.
It's just learning how to harness it and cook it for it to be delicious. We all know the seeds are edible and quite delicious.
Yeah.
But the rest of it takes some work for sure.
It puts me in mind about how much food must we be wasting on top of the already ridiculous amounts of waste there are when we have hungry people on the planet. How much food must we be wasting because we don't know that you can eat the whole thing?
Tons.
Yes.
I mean, we know, I believe we're at like 40% food waste as a worldwide. It's up there, and that's not including all the parts of the plants that we don't realize are edible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it truly is. And then the other thing that blew my mind was the pine. Is it a sorbet? Is it an ice cream? Is it what would you?
Sorbet.
It's a sorbet.
Yeah.
And you were telling us a story about, I think it was your grandmother or your wife's grandmother used to make tea out of pine needles.
Yeah. I think my grandma did. Yeah. So pine needle, studying more indigenous foods and stuff, came into realizing that pine needle tea was used by the Kumeyaay Indians of San Diego County as a source of vitamin C. And it has, when you make at a certain concentration pine needle tea, it has 3 times more vitamin C than orange juice even. So they were using that to ward off scurvy, keep themselves healthy, especially in the winter months. So we kind of took that and we blend up pine needles with a little bit of sugar and some yuzu juice, and then extract it. So you don't have the actual pulp from the pine needles. We just have all the pure flavor.
Wow.
Sorbet. and
Wow.
it's kind of
That's
our
interesting.
Matsu dessert.
Yeah. How do you decide on your menus for wine pairings?
Or sake
Yeah.
pairings.
Wine or sake? Mhm.
Um, I drink a lot of wine typically. We have our
Cheers.
suppliers come in and we taste through it. Cheers. We taste through it, and if I like it and I think it fits the menu and it fits one of our dishes, we
I
bring
see.
it
Yeah.
I had a because I was only drinking individual drinks the night that we came. Didn't do the whole pairing, but um, Chef Duarte suggested that I have a glass of, was it Riesling
with the
that I
sunflower.
had? Yes, with the sunflower.
Yes, yes,
It
yeah,
was unbelievable because
Oh.
Riesling is typically, I lived in Germany for 3 years and never drank it because I just
Too
never found
sweet.
it's very
Too
well, it's
sweet.
either too sweet or too dry. There was just not my flavor.
yeah.
But it almost changed after I'd eaten the sunflower and had a sip of the Riesling. It almost turned it into like a fizzy little pop rocks kind of experience. I can't even explain it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we there's something called ryu, which we call it ryu, but ryu in Japanese food is literally just like a chili oil, and it's just the oil. If there's taberu ryu, it's the actual like almost like a chili crunch in Chinese food, so it actually has um, the actual bits and garlic and other stuff in it. So we make a version of that we put a little bit of dried cuttlefish, dried shrimp into, but we put a little bit of our togarashi, which has Sancho peppercorn, which does that numbing heat, that pop rocky feel that you're talking about. And when you drink your Riesling after you have a bite of that, the spiciness of the ryu, the sweetness of the Riesling kind of balance each other out. And then you get that pop rocky feeling from the Sancho peppercorns while you're drinking. And it's just it's a whole other experience. And the pairing of those two is just perfect.
It really is,
Amazing.
because if I ever see Riesling on a menu, it would be the last thing I would order. But again, that's part of the experience at Matsu, is that you guys are all on hand to make, recommendations and
That's
present
right.
the dishes and tell everybody what's
Yeah.
in it and how to approach it and all of that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you do need guidance, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. in that.
Yeah, especially with what we do. I mean, people are coming to us for an experience, a journey. They want to try something they haven't before, and we try to
Yes.
provide.
Right. Our viewers have probably been seeing a couple of people working in the background. I know you're typically closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays, although you will be open for Valentine's Day this year, which falls on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So if you're anywhere in the LA, Palm Springs, San Diego, Oceanside, Dana Point, Laguna areas, get in quick, because I know you're filling up fast. So it'd be an amazing Valentine's experience. But the reason that people are there is because as if you didn't have enough to do, you have these other two businesses, the Nagy Sando shop and the Hokkaido Bread Company. How was the bread company born and when?
Bread company was born during the pandemic. Had some friends that were having trouble getting some bread, and just started it in my garage and helped them out. Bread was originally developed to be the Matsu bread course, and ended up not even making it into Matsu's program. It just became its own company at this point.
And because of your fascination with all things Japanese, you went with the Hokkaido milk bread to start with, or?
Yeah, and that's kind of how it fit into Matsu's original. Matsu started as a pop-up, and we were doing a chawanmushi, which is like a savory custard with a little bit of Japanese milk bread on the side, almost like a bread and butter course. And I was doing Japanese milk bread, which is Hokkaido milk bread. And when my friends, all their brioche burger buns were having troubles, especially during the beginning of the pandemic when everything was shutting down and they were trying to do their to-go programs. Suppliers were short-staffed, so everybody was having issues, and we're like, let's see if a burger works on it. And it was just phenomenal. Everybody complains about how the bottom bun on a burger just gets soggy and gross after a while.
Yeah.
No, I've driven around with them with the greasiest of greasy burgers for hours on end in a car just to research it. We've done pretty much everything you can do to try to get these things to disintegrate, and they just don't. So it's kind of the perfect burger bun at this point.
Well, that speaks to my friend Renaud that I originally know from Moscow. He's now in
New York.
in
I
New
think,
York.
yeah.
He's asking, question to the chef: I bow to you gourmets, but isn't it better to just cook a good appetizing burger and get your ecstasy that way? so, so you see,
That's what this sandwich shop is for. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the best of both worlds right there.
right. And so obviously, if you've got a bakery and you're distributing, do you only distribute to hotels and restaurants? Are you in stores available anywhere for locals?
Currently in San Diego County, we are in all 3 Fraser Farms.
Oh, great. Oh, good.
I'm going to talk to a few different other ones. But right now is, we're just trying to get through the winter and get through these slower months. And then come March, it'll start picking back up. And hopefully we'll be in a couple more grocery stores by then.
Oh, good.
Great. And so the milk bread obviously is it like it sounds? Is it like sort of white toast brioche? Is it that kind of base?
Yeah, to an extent. There's something called the Tangzong starter, which is basically flour and milk to make almost like a roux. And then you put that in, it slows down the gluten production. It gives you that nice stringy texture to your bread.
Mm-hmm.
And really beautiful kind of chew on it.
Mm-hmm.
Flavor profile wise, I would say a cross between like a King's Hawaiian and a brioche. So you have that really rich toastiness, but you have this like really underlying sweetness to it. And it's a perfect balance between the two.
And you opened Nagy when the chicken, it was originally a chicken sando shop, but you're doing all kinds of sandwiches now, right?
Yeah. We started that as, again, a pop-up. We had got the building for Matsu. We were doing some renovations and we needed a small influx of capital just to finish the build. So the easiest thing for us was, hey, let's do a chicken sandwich. Everybody was talking chicken sandwiches at the time. So we opened up one of the back windows, that one right there, and literally served chicken sandwiches out of it for a few months while we were building Matsu, painting the walls when there were no customers coming up to the window, stuff like that. It then graduated into a food truck for a few months, and then we got a brick and mortar, which opened up September 7th of last year.
Wow.
And where is that in Oceanside for locals who might be watching?
That is South Oceanside along Coast Highway, right just north of Vista Way.
Okay.
It was for especially the Oceanside locals that were familiar with the old Ponca building. They had to move out and had to move back home and offered us the space. And we said, perfect, we'll take it. Glad to keep it in the local family.
Yeah.
And it's been great ever since. It's about a mile from Matsu.
What are your plans for the future, as if you haven't got enough going already?
We definitely are planning. Bread right now operates in Matsu's building. They're actually working right now. We're looking at moving them into their own production facility warehouse within the next couple months. Hopefully another Nagy location by the end of the year. And then sky's the limit from there. I mean, it's just kind of growing and growing and growing.
That's the attitude. The sky's the limit. Bless you.
Just 3 Michelin stars, right?
Yeah. 3 will do for stars.
Actually, let's be the first restaurant in the world to get 4, shall we?
Yeah, go on. You can do it.
Yes, he can.
I can't wait to get up there. Down there. I keep thinking you're north of us.
She's not the driver.
I haven't been out much, as you can tell. Yeah.
Well, Chef, this has been amazing. Tell folks where they can find you online and on Instagram and Facebook and such. And we'll also post that in the comments afterwards.
Matsu's website, eatatmatsu.com. Nagy is eatatnagi.com. Naegi is how you spell that. Bread company, I believe it's Hokkaido Bread Company.com. SD. Yep. Can I inquire about wholesale there? Matsu's Instagram is Matsu_Oceanside. And then we have Eat Nagy as the other one for Instagram. Facebook, Matsu or Nagy. It's simple enough. It'll pop up.
If you find one, you'll find another, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing I would suggest, folks, when you go to eatatmatsu.com, which is on the crawl under here, if you watch this back or stream it back, under the About Us tab, there's a PDF that you can download with Chef's whole story and some funny trivia stuff and a glossary of terms of words you've heard today and a little bit more about his other 2 companies, the Hokkaido Bread Company and Nagy too. So if you're a foodie like me, go grab Chef Williams' PDF. And next time you are planning a trip to anywhere in Southern California, because it's a super easy drive from here where we are near LAX. I mean, we were there in just a little over an hour, I think. And we can't wait to come back, Chef. You're a rock star, and I'm so happy to have spent this time with you. And McCartney's thrilled to be on your team. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks again, Chef. God bless.
We will see you all soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.